Welcome to the West County ACA Speaker Series, recorded in St. Louis, Missouri. We meet every Thursday as a literature discussion, and the first week of the month is our ACA speaker meeting. Speakers are asked to share their story and one tool they find most useful in their ACA recovery. If you'd like to contact us, email westcounty@acastl.org. We hope you enjoy.
And Marlene, welcome.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for cheering. Hi, everybody. I'm Marlene. I am a recovering adult child.
Hi, Marlene.
Thanks, Chris, for asking me to speak. I don't know about anybody else, but my holidays were not easy, and I think that happens for us sometimes. The holidays can be really challenging. Mine's been really challenging. It's kind of bled over into the new year too. So I know that whenever I get asked to speak, it's because I need to examine some things for myself and to go to the literature and to think about where I was and where I am today. So I appreciate the topic of tools to give you a little bit of an idea of my story, because many of you know I like to talk and we're going to stay focused. First of all, I want to say anything that I say today is not original. You know, I am blessed to have many people in my life in program who shared freely with me the wisdom that they got through the people before them, and I have that also. I am an adult child. I'm an Al-Anonic. I am, you open the book for codependent. I'm the picture in the encyclopedia of the codependent. I'm a perfectionist. I'm a workaholic. I'm a busyaholic, hurryaholic. I'm an adrenaline addict. I've tried drugs and drank a lot, but that didn't give me the high that control and perfectionism and workaholism have done. I spoke a lot last night, so I have to pardon my voice. I'm the oldest of 7 children. I think that automatically qualifies you for 12-step program personally. My father was bipolar from the moment I came into the world. They didn't have names for it then, but my mother had talked about early in her marriage, she saw some strange things about him. He was very high functioning. He grew up with a father that was a rageaholic, and a mother that was a codependent, and my dad was a twin. And I think it's hard to be a twin, really, really hard. And they both experienced a lot of physical and emotional abuse. He had a half-brother who was older, who was an alcoholic, a gambler, a womanizer. There's stories all over Dogtown about him many, many years ago. He was a veteran of the Pacific Rim during World War II, and he saw combat in the Philippines, and he came back just really mess. He died about a year before I was born, and boy, that family was effed up from that. My mother is of German descent. Allah, she should be in this program too. That whole side of the family should be in the program. Germans Anonymous or something. She has a long history on her side of the family of alcoholism, mental illness. On that side, it's anxiety, which I think grows out of the codependence, the trying to avoid things going south, and to stay and to try and change and get the alcoholics to stop drinking and doing those crazy things. So I learned early, both sides of the family, and there's a long history. Don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. And I also add to that, don't listen. As in my house, there were 9 of us, and we talked over each other, we interrupted each other, we had answers for each other, or we cowered away or just dissociated. Each of the 7 kids had different things. And out of that, for me, when I showed up in 12-step work, chaos and dysfunction are normal. They're the familiar, normal thing. That's how I showed up in the world. And I took a long time to get here. And so tonight, I want to talk about meetings. I needed to go back and think about how I came into 12-step and how I came into ACA. And I want to use meetings as my tool and my vehicle to talk about what that did for me early in my program and then later as the rubber hit the road. the first time I walked into a 12-step meeting was early in my marriage. My husband's sister died of cancer and left 2 little kids. She was in her mid-30s. It was really tragic, and he had been sober for a long time, and he went out. And somebody suggested that I go to a meeting, and I did, and it didn't stick. I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. And he got better, right? He got better. He got therapy for his grief, and he got better. I'll just put it like that. So I couldn't, years later, about 14 years later, I couldn't hide the chaos in my marriage and from my daughter, our daughter. I couldn't hide it. She knew that he was drinking and knew that stuff was going wrong. And I went to my first Al-Anon meeting. And I hope it's okay that I talk about that in here today because it has a lot to do with how I got here. And I'm thankful for both programs. So, I went to that meeting, and I sat at the back of the room and didn't feel anything, and just didn't feel anything. I was really lost. All my solutions didn't work, and my daughter was just so affected. And I a lot of people go there to fix their marriage or fix their father or fix their whatever. I went there because I didn't know what to do. I had lost me. I went there for me because I had to do something. And I walked into there and started going to the meetings. Something happened that first night. In retrospect, even within a year, I knew something happened in that meeting. And there was, I call it safety. It was the first time in my life I think I felt safe, really safe. Never felt safe with any of my relatives. I felt safe with you guys that night. And it wasn't a big thing. It was just a little sense here. And I started listening to stories. In a couple months, I got a sponsor, and I started working the steps. But what I can tell you is those early stories helped me identify what was going on. I had no idea about addiction, alcoholism, codependent, all those words that you guys use, all the lingo around 12-step. I had not a clue. And I needed that. I needed to know what recovery was all about, and I needed hope. And when I went to those first couple meetings, I just used to get so mad because people were smiling and laughing, and I was dying on the inside. And so I kept going back, and I started to learn those kinds of things. And my denial about what my life was all about, and that I had a normal childhood, and that I had a normal marriage, and all that started coming down like this. That what I did was good. That came down. That what I was doing was not good. I was the common denominator. One of the most important things that you guys taught me through principles of anonymity and crosstalk is how to listen. I regulated with you guys. I calmed when I came to the meetings because I had to be quiet. I didn't have to have answers for anybody. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to sit there. And it was really uncomfortable. But at the same time, it was really good for me. And I had to learn how to listen. And that is a skill that I still have to work on all the time. But I'm glad to do it. I learned that those meetings were a safe place to do my work. I had work to do. You guys told me that. I had work to do. It is me that has to do it, and that was a safe place. I learned to become comfortable with silence. When you grow up in a house with 9 people, there's never silence except when they're sleeping. And I was not comfortable with silence. I was very comfortable with chaos, right? Chaos, any kind of drama, that was all good. But this was where I learned that silence is a good thing, and process. Everything doesn't have to be immediate. There are steps that you take to get better, and that was really important for me. So part of the story that's important to me to share is I came out of that meeting one night. And I had blabbed at the meeting, whining about something, I'm sure. And this is about 8 or 9 months in. And a woman stopped me and said, I think you should do 90 meetings in 90 days. And I looked at her and I said, because I was just like, what are you talking about? And I said, I have a teenage daughter and a full-time job. How could I possibly do 90 meetings in 90 days? She looked at me calmly and gently, and she said, honey, do you think your daughter will do better with you not doing 90 meetings in 90 days. And I said, well, I'll take that under advisement. And this is somebody I really liked, but boy, was I resistant. And I went home and prayed on it and slept on it and texted her the next day, I'll do it. And I tell you not to brag, there's no bragging about this, but halfway through, I left that Sunday night meeting, drove home, and I started crying. It was the first time I'd ever done anything for me that was spiritual and emotional. It was the first time I'd ever done anything that way. And I realized that I was on to something. It was one of those aha kind of moments. So that was good. The other thing, I had a wonderful sponsor who to the day I take my last breath, she makes me weepy. I will always be grateful to her because she saved me. She really did. And she said, you've got to go to all kinds of meetings. You have got to get this. You've got to understand this. And she was in quite a few programs. And so she made me go to a lot of different meetings. And in 90 meetings in 90 days, I went to all kinds of meetings all over the city, all times of the day, because I had to get my 90 meetings done. I made that commitment. And I learned so much. And I learned so much about myself. And that was a big thing for me, that meetings are really, really important. A couple years into my 12-step work, I've had a lot of loss in my life, a lot of loss. And I started a grief group. Came to my house, 5 women came to my house a couple times a month, and we read a book, and we talked about it. And one night, one of my friends brought 2 other women to the meeting. And they came in, and I knew them from meetings, and I liked both of them. And they pulled me over after a couple weeks, and they said, honey, do you know that there's a 12-step meeting that talks about grief and loss? And I said, no. I said, what is this? They said, it's adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. And there's a meeting that we hold every Wednesday night at Step Alano Club. We started the meeting. And I said, oh. And so I remembered that I had been at not an ACA meeting. Somebody had brought in the big red books. They had like 4 or 5, and they were selling them. And I picked it up, and I bought it at this other meeting. And then I remembered, I've got this book. So I picked up the book before I went to the Wednesday night meeting, tried to read it. And I tell newcomers when I work with them all the time, don't try and read that book by yourself. Because I couldn't. I read a sentence or two. That book is so dense and so rich. I couldn't do it by myself. I dissociated immediately. And so I went to the meeting, and of course, after a little bit, I dissociated most of the time for a while. And I knew I needed to be there because it was very different. ACA for me was very, very different. Even this hard work I'd done in another program, and I've been in therapy since I was 18. I've been in therapy for a long time. I've read and passed on so many self-help books, I can't even tell you how many. And there is still something missing. There is an emptiness inside of me, a disconnect. I couldn't find me. I was doing better with other people, but I couldn't find me. And when I came to those meetings, I really, even though I dissociated, you guys were still there. You like witness things. I start sharing at certain times, and it was like I could hear my story and your story, and it was about the things that I had never been able to talk about. And that's what happened in the ACA meetings. It was really important for me. Talking about loss and unexpressed grief, oh my gosh. Just talking about it is a solution for me in this program. As we have, and I say this a lot, we have all lost a lot. And when we share our stories, we're talking about the losses in our lives. It's not just people who die, although we have that experience a lot. It's other losses of change in our life and things we didn't expect and dreams that we didn't have. And you guys talk about it. You have words for it. And you don't hug me, and you don't hand me Kleenex, and you don't try to fix me, and you aren't always rosy about things. That drives me crazy when I'm really sad. I want to be sad. I want to be sad so I can let go of it. And you guys taught me how to do that. So I got a lot in there about how to bear witness to other people, because you showed me, because you did it for me. You didn't try to make me feel better. You let me sit with my feelings, and you didn't judge me. That was just really important. I want to close because I can talk all night. I still go to meetings, and I work in small groups with women. That really helps me a lot. And I work with people one-on-one, and then I try to go to different meetings. And the one thing that I can tell you, part of my story is in 2015, my husband at that time tried to die 3 times in 90 days from cirrhosis of the liver. He should be dead. I can't tell you how this happened. He got a transplant. Through that whole time, I went to meetings. Now, did I participate? No, I sat in the back like this. After I'd be at the hospital or trying to sell our house or whatever things, close his business, all the that happened, the shit show that happened, I still went to meetings because I needed you guys to just keep me grounded. And you had done that before. And so I went to as many meetings as I could through that whole thing. And you guys called me. I got little emojis, love you, prayers for you, all through that experience. And so I know what meetings can do when things are really bad. I have gone to meetings when things were really good because I wanted people to know that I got better, I'm okay. I survived that time. Thank you so much. And that's an important part. And then a couple years after that, I decided to leave that marriage. And boy, I beefed up my meetings during that too, because I needed the support to stay in touch with who I am and who I want to be. I don't want to be that gotta do, what did I do wrong person that I've always been. I wanted to be a woman in recovery, living a life of recovery. And you guys show me how to do that. And meetings for me are really, really important. In fact, it's kind of funny. I was writing this up, and I remembered that last week, 2 weeks ago, I was having a hard time, and it was about my daughter, right? It's not alcoholism. It's not, it is codependence. And I just got on a parent meeting. I needed a parent meeting, and I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes because that's how I concentrate. And I'm taking notes, and I'm going, this person doesn't know my life. Oh, that was good. I'll write that down. I don't know why the hell I'm here. None of these people share my brain, my crazy distorted thinking is going and going. And after about writing 6 things down, I looked down and I said, I need this meeting. I needed this meeting because I'm focused on blaming my daughter for not doing what I want her to do, making her life better, and I know better, it's all that craziness. And you guys just calm me down. In a 12-step meeting, I get calmed down all the time. And in this meeting, I get to get closer to who I am. So I am powerless over my dysfunctional past, my distorted thinking, my unexpressed grief, my ways of numbing myself out, but I'm not helpless. And for me, meetings are still, today, 13 years later, still one of the most important tools that I have to keep myself in the middle of the boat and to be able to live my life on life's terms, not Marlene's terms. So that's all I have. Thank you for asking me and listening, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Thanks for listening to our recording of the West County Speaker Series here in St. Louis, Missouri. For more information on meetings in the St. Louis area, visit www.acastl.org.